Welcome back to the second part of the lecture that I suggested that I would do a little bit about the tools and the methods with which teachers can be familiar and can implement some of the open learning resources in their own classrooms. In all of this, and particularly on the internet content, it is important for us to know who our audience can be, or we tell the audience what is it that they should know in order to understand what we are going to say. So it's either that. Either you decide who your audience is, or you tell the audience that this is what you are going to say, at the end of which this is what you will be able to do. So this kind of requirements and expectations on the learners on what they need to know, I mean the synchronization between the two is very, very important. Pedagogy is an extremely important area for education. In higher education we call it andragogy, but I think we still use the word pedagogy more or less in the same fashion. Professor Anup Ray from IIT Kharagpur, the Center for Educational Technology, is one of the pioneers in India who has been holding the pedagogy development project and also research on online content. Here is a very complicated looking slide, but an extremely important one. Let us take a few minutes to understand what it means. Essentially, when you prepare a course, it is important for you to build some of the learning elements carefully and some of the learning objectives very clearly. So if you look at this slide, the first part of it says your course name. I mean, the control systems, these are all examples. Replace that with your course title. The course ID, your university would probably give you a course ID, put that in, institute. That is just to label this particular course. But then below the department, you see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4 rows, large rows, blue and orange colored. You can see that. Overview, objectives, summary, reference resources, and assignment. What you need to do is for each and every course you have to provide an overview for the course, and if the course is broken up into smaller units called modules, that is chapters. If you think about a textbook is on a subject, and then there are chapters which organize the textbook in a certain way, and then there are subsections and sections and subchapters and so on, which even go into the detail of what is it that you can learn locally. Keep that in mind. Then you have a course overview and a module overview for the entire course as minimally important. The overview is about what you are going to do in the course. Then you have objectives. What are the objectives for you are teaching that particular course? What do you think that the student should be able to understand? So that is also broken into course objectives, a module objectives, and a unit-wise objectives. What is a unit? Unit is if a module is broken into some lectures, typically like a 40-minute lecture or a 50-minute lecture. So that is the unit. So objectives have to be stated for each and every one of these. The summary at the end of having done those course details, you have to summarize them at the course level and at least at the module level. It will be nice if you can do it at the unit level. Then there are reference resources. Many of us, practically all of us, teach from what we learned and what we accessed from other resource materials. Therefore, it's only academically the right thing to identify the reference resources and for further reading. Assignments. Again, the assignments have to be broken into what are called the unit-wise assignments, module-wise assignments, which will cover multiple units so that the problem may cover unit 1 and unit 2 together. And then there are course problems which are far more comprehensive and which require learning across the modules. So these are some of the ways by which you can organize your course, and there are agencies today which require this organization to be made in the university system. And then in addition to all these things, you can provide case studies, you can provide projects, you can provide the frequently accessed questions or frequently asked questions. You can allow the users to ask a question and provide a forum for them to answer each other, provide a self-assessment. You can ask the student to form groups and ask them to add comments. You can see that there are multiple activities that you as a teacher will be able to do in creating the necessary learning environment for the student. Okay. Now, there are many tools which allow you to create and integrate all these things into, and there are open source learning management and learning course management tools. Moodle is a course management tool, for example, and in IIT Kanpur, there's an in-house product known as Brahaspati, which has been prepared as a learning management system. There are other free and open source video and audio recording and editing tools. There are free web spaces on social networking sites. If you think of Facebook and Twitter as the free networking site for you to do socializing, to to exchange information, to gather friends and other things, there are also other sites which do this for educational content only, and these are called social educational networking sites. An example of this site is Classel. If you just type Classel in Google website, you will get the website. Classel allows you to form your own teaching learning companions and groups and so on. These are equivalent to social networking sites. And then there are free web spaces on clouds. See, as teachers, some of these things can be leveraged by us in allowing our groups to form or encouraging our groups of students to form small learning cycles or small learning groups and so on. And then there are other systems like course builder systems. If you are familiar with what is happening with the massive open online course, there are new course builders. And then there are other learning management sites like the Indira Gandhi National Open University and so on. So there are many tools available and many different forms of contents available. These are all tools for creating an e-learning environment. Moodle, for example, which is a short form or an acronym for Modular Object-Oriented Dynamic Learning Environment. It's a course management system. It's a virtual learning environment. It's free. You can just download Moodle and ask your student to set it up. Whenever you are in doubt about a technology solution or about a technology method, my first reaction or my first suggestion would be, one, ask your children. I think they probably know technology much more than you and I do. Two, ask your students. It's likely that they have already seen such things elsewhere. And three, most important, when they do it, they also learn the subject matter that they are putting it in. Therefore, it's beneficial to you and it's doubly beneficial to them. So involve the students of your college, involve the students of your course, involve them to build such environments for you. You provide the academic content. You provide the learning that needs to be provided. And let the technology, let the students and let the environment take care of the assimilation of all of these into an environment. Many academic institutions like IITs are using the Moodle environment, and we have quite a bit of experience. Google has also provided of late a course builder. It's one of the latest and the free source for organizing course contents for a suitably defined pedagogical framework. It's a free cloud space available and it's continuously updated. Google works with the universities for doing that, and in fact we ran our first online certification program with their help, as you see it here. The first online certification in computer science in the area of programming, data structures and algorithms was offered using this platform, and the second phase is likely to be launched soon, okay, by IIT Kanpur. Why do we have to do all these things as teachers or as even students? Why do we need ICT, and in what way can you contribute? This is what I would like to focus in the next 10 to 15 minutes before I close the lecture, and tell you some of the developments that I think as teachers all of us should be familiar with. I am not here preaching you, please understand. I do technology enhanced learning myself. I've been doing that for my own course in chemistry since 1995, and I do use animations in the class. I think what is important for all of us is to determine what the students need to learn and what is the best process by which we can ensure that that learning happens fast. Therefore, ICT enables, that's the first thing, but ICT also enhances the learning. If you remember, that's why NPTEL is called National Program in Technology Enhanced Learning, not just enabling learning. Enhancement is cognition, enabling is communication and access and various other things. Okay. Now, remember, in our country, we have a very large number of students, and therefore it is important for academicians to devise and guide reforms that will transform the country into a strong and vibrant knowledge economy in the coming years. And when we say that, it's not just India, it's all parts of India. That is, we have to reach those which we cannot reach today through the electronic means, through the communication methods that we have. And NPTEL started with 4 focus areas of interest in that order, namely higher education. And we started with professional education, in which the IITs were competent and were able to provide good learning resources. In the long run, distance education for those who cannot afford but who do need the certification and the education process for them to be successful in their lives, and to provide lifelong and continuous learning for those who want to learn forever. So all these processes are important. We started with professional education. And in professional education alone, if you look at it, there is a very clear and very neatly documented necessity. This is a slightly older document. It's 14 lakhs, that is, I would say 1.4 million engineering seats per year. About 0.1 million, 1 lakh, are reasonable ones. Reasonable depends on who you talk to, which company you decide, because many employers keep complaining about the engineering students not being employable beyond 15% or 20% or 25%. So it varies. But the point is, only a fraction of the students are actually qualified for employment right after their education, right after their degree. And you can see that in 4-year programs, about 4.5 million engineering students we have. This is a growing number. And the degree and the level of teachers that we have in this country, if you look at it, the teacher-student ratio, as I said in the last lecture, is between 1:75 and 1:100 if you include only teachers with postgraduate or a PhD qualification.